where flying shadows play. Legends whisper softly in the light of day. Scales shine like diamonds, wings that touch the sky. Guardians of the planet Earth, protecting all that cry. When the storms rage above and the darkened shadows creep, they shield the outer danger from attacking when we sleep. Through their breath of fire, we will find our way back home. They are always there to call on, no matter where we roam. Hear the thunder of dragons flying high above the earth, protectors of the ancient realms, hidden since our...
Okay. Episode 2, the Heartfire Chronicles, and this beautiful platform of taking us out and reaching around the world. And tonight I have the honor and the humbling of having a good friend of mine, and let's say a shamanic brother in many ways, and just an overall powerful soul that's going to join us directly from Guatemala. And so I'd like to welcome in Jonathan Juan, okay, into, well, let's take this where it's going to go tonight, people.
Hello.
Jonathan,
How you doing?
you're sitting right in the middle of.
Guatemala in the
I'm
forest.
doing well, brother. Yeah, in a forest. What better place to be? I'm sitting up here where it's, well, I think there's somewhat of a forest behind me, but it's definitely not outside. Okay. So, it's like, thank you once again for, joining me. Like we've done this a little bit on TikTok, and now we're taking it not just on TikTok, we're all over the place right now. So say hello to the world, and, maybe might introduce yourself instead of me introducing you, because you know what? You know yourself better than I do.
Yeah. Well, so my name is Jonathan. Also Ashwan, which is XUAN, which is kind of representation of the phoenix. Ash from the ashes, one of the ashes. It's a it's a name here that they use in the Tsutohil, Mayan dialect. Yeah, it's Ashwan. And that kind of came through after a ceremony that I did that was something to connect with. So been playing around with that and exploring that. So yeah.
So
Well,
let's go
but,
to what got you down to Guatemala from where
well, I drove.
where I am, and now
Oh,
you're
school
in
bus.
Guatemala. It's like, okay.
Yeah. Well, I lived many lives. I lived a life in the Matrix, very deep in the Matrix, really wanting the money, wanting the things that they tell you to want, and it just wasn't fulfilling, and it just wasn't feeling like it was in aligned with my path. And yeah, it seemed like really I was happy, but deep down I really wasn't. And I was in a marriage that really, it didn't really. It was a beautiful time together, but it didn't really have the depth that my soul was searching for. And I didn't really know it at the time, but through life experience, it kind of broke me open, and then I went on to explore some of those deeper aspects of myself to understand myself, so that I knew that those, if I do those things now, then in the future with my future partner, I wouldn't have to, I wouldn't, I would know myself more, and so that was my mission before eventually meeting Kira, my partner now, my
Hmm,
beloved, and we have a daughter
beautiful soul,
together.
Kira.
And so that really led me on a journey into the inner worlds through exploring the limits of the outer world, exploring the uncomfortable way of living that many would find really uncomfortable. And I chose to jump right in because I knew that the challenge is something that I needed to help me to explore the depths of my own self. And so I moved into a little trailer, and chased Kira into the forest, and we lived in the forest in Canada for a month in a trailer and a camper van, and then we decided in the middle of winter that we were going to do a road trip across Canada together during the middle of COVID when they were trying to tell us to wear masks and trying to tell us to inject ourselves with poisons, and we just said no. We're just gonna go across the country, and every province that we got to across the country, within a couple of days of us getting there, they lifted all the masking mandates and the vaccine mandates and all that stuff, so we could go into restaurants again and we could, you know, go places and do things. But I mean, we were in vehicles; we didn't really care. It was our moving home, right? So they couldn't really say anything because we were in a
Yeah,
mobile
confine you
mobile
to your
home.
home.
What are you
Well,
gonna
I
say?
am in my home. It's on wheels. Yeah, so to speak. Eh?
Exactly. Yeah. So and then yeah, so we got to Thunder Bay, Ontario, and that's where we found this beautiful school bus that we currently live in still. Uh, so it's a 40-foot blue school bus that's it's like a 2001. It was painted dark blue with like a white top. It used to be a stripper bus at one time, and then they converted it into a camper
That's quite
bus
the history.
and some tree. Yeah, it's
Now,
pretty great.
I followed you pretty much throughout your entire journey. Like I met you here in Edmonton, and we had that connection right at the very, very, very start, and a brotherly connection, and it's we always found a way to sort of gather in many different ways. And while I'm still somewhat in the matrix of it, I've always been sort of on the outside of it as well. So it's like I'm very aware. Like even when COVID hit up here, it's like there was no way you're not gonna muffle me. You're not gonna put that in me. And I kept strong to that. And then I saw you take off and like disappear. Here we go on this road trip, and it's like every step of the way, and as you're getting down to Guatemala, and I'm thinking this big mammoth of a bus, and you're getting down into those narrow roadways, and I mean, like that journey itself must have been just wild.
Oh yeah, it was interesting. So when we were living in the bus in Canada on this piece of land out in the country and just kind of getting a feel for what community living is like. And then it started to get cold, so we're like, well, we've always wanted to go to this place in Guatemala, Lake Atitlan, and well, might as well just try driving there. And so it was around the time when the border restrictions were they were semi-active. Like some people would get stopped, some wouldn't, and we just said, you know what, the path is clear. We're gonna be protected. And we got to the border, and the border guard said, "Where are you going?" Guatemala. And he's like, "Have fun."
Really? Just like,
So
have a nice
it was
trip.
just
Okay.
yeah, yeah, just like just not even like trying to question or anything. I mean, it was a small town border, so that was fine. But he just more like the universe says, "Yeah, you're good." So we trusted fully, and we put in prayers and intentions into it, into being able to pass through the gateway to really access. I mean, the U.S. nobody cared, nothing was happening there. All the stories we were hearing in Canada were all just lies, and then we saw it firsthand getting into the U.S. and you're like, oh, nobody's doing any of that here. There's little pockets here and there, but it wasn't huge. And so yeah, we spent a couple weeks in Arizona because it was a little warmer there. We were being chased by a snowstorm coming out of,
Yeah, I remember that. I
Canada, and
remember that part of your trip. Yeah, it's like, it's just like, okay, there's a snowstorm right
yeah,
behind you. It's like, here comes the bear, right? And just
yeah, you're running
I
from the
think
bear.
every step of the way I saw your posts and everything else, and like I was happy for you. I really was. To see that you're breaking away
Mm,
from all of this surface fear mongering. Okay. Now you're at the ground root level. You're on the road. You're there with the people. You're interacting, you're discovering, you're exploring, you're seeing things that you've never seen before, most likely. And, just weave like here's an essence of weaving. Okay. When I talk about weaving and weaving energies, you're weaving this pathway to where you ended up where you are right now. And I mean, that's an experience of a lifetime. That's an experience that, you are you going to do that twice? Well, I don't know if you're going to do that twice, but you've done it once enough to turn around and talk to your child about this, and like that's a whole other story. It's like when Kira became pregnant, and I'll let you go into exploring and explaining that side of things as well. And I just like spew out this story. I want the world to hear this because you broke away from a matrix. You did it in a way that a
Yeah,
lot of people on the surface would be saying, like, "How did you do this?" And you just explained it. You just like,
yeah,
you just kept going.
yeah. I mean, we got into the US, and even in the southern state in Arizona, close to the border, where people are like, "Oh, where are you going with your bus?" And we're like, "Oh, we're going to Guatemala." They're like, "Oh, be careful in Mexico. It's dangerous." And we don't want to go there. It's dangerous. Like, don't go there. We're like, "Yeah, I mean, that's your story."
Yeah, exactly.
And we went through Mexico. We had, we were optimistic about it. We're positive about it. People we encounter, people feed off your energy too. So if you're this open, like loving heart, you'll encounter those loving heart good Samaritans in your path. You might encounter some difficulty, but nothing that you can't handle and that you're not meant to handle. And so we fully anchored that in and trust when we were making this journey, so that we knew, what you emit as a frequency through your thoughts are reflecting back at us in some way. And so it was a training for us to really, you know, rip open this matrix that we tore away from and just get to where we wanted to go and needed to go, and trusting that we would be supported in it. And we found this place here at the Lake Atitlan, which has it's called Firefly Gardens, where we live right now. And it was big enough. It was the only places we could find on the lake that was easily accessible with a 40-foot school bus, and we could park for a period of time. And so we got here and got out of the bus. We felt into it, and Kira said, "I don't think we're leaving." And so here we are. We're 2 years later. Right after we got here, a cool synchronicity happened. Another school bus with a family of four from Arkansas. They came down with and they stopped here and they spent 2 weeks with us. There were two school buses here at this Firefly Gardens, and we hung out. We built things together. The family who was from Vancouver that that started the project, and they own the land. They they came too, so it was like this big, celebration, a celebration of community, celebration of starting something. This like, putting the fire into this project and just like igniting it so that it can continue to grow. And what it is basically we're a place that people come and they stop when they're backpacking or overlanding. They spend some time with us. They have a shared kitchen. We kind of anchor in and ground in the community that people are living in, like that. So we live here and ground in that like intentional community. It's still in its beginning stages, but when people come through, they feel it. They feel the loving uh, accommodation that we help to provide, like in with the local that we live with and share in this project with. It's really bringing two worlds together. And when people come and stop here, we get to hear their stories of where they've traveled. There's lots and lots of people that do the Pan American Highway every year round. The people driving from Alaska all the way to Argentina. Like, we met motorbikes, like 60-year-olds on motorbikes coming all they shipped their bikes over from Germany to Argentina, and they were driving up. We met them here in Guatemala, and they were going all the way to Alaska
Really?
with it. Hey, we don't Yeah, oh yeah,
So they're coming from Germany
and
to
we don't hear
Guatemala.
it.
It's nice and warm, and now they're heading up to Alaska. Whoa.
Yeah. Well, they shipped their bikes to Argentina, so they'd already driven all of South America, shipped their bikes from, across to Panama, and then drove up through Costa Rica and Central America, stopped here at Lake Etilan with us for a week or a little more. And, they were tenting too the whole way, just tent in a motorcycle wherever they'd find these places all across the continent, and those things happen, those things exist. And, we don't hear about it that much because it's not it's really a niche thing. And everyone would wanna do that, I'm sure. Like, there would be more people if more people even knew that other people were taking those risks, taking those adventures, right? But we live for adventure. We as humans, why do we like Lord of the Rings so much? It's they're going on an adventure. It's like people we used to adventure to the neighboring town, to the neighboring village, go on quests, like that was humanity until we got pushed into boxes in
Mm.
these little cities,
Yeah,
right?
that our peoples, our ancestors, the nomads, the nomadics, if we wanna call it, no matter what origin there is there, we integrated with the land. We followed the land, we followed the seasons, we gathered, and you've created this gathering place that's, people from all over the world have passed through. I mean, just that alone, you could write a book on. When you think about it, it's like,
Yeah.
my God, you're from Germany, you've come here. You're from here, you've come here. Just that interaction and intersection of outside the box, outside the shipping lanes, outside the control and the mechanisms of fear, just you know what? Just going at it. And, I look at what you've created, and now, I'm hearing more and I'm learning more from you because I know we talk quite a bit, but, it's like, holy shit, brother. I mean, like, really? Like I'm
Yeah.
just getting shivers thinking about some of the potential and some of the experiences that you could have had in that gathering, that circle, where people go to
Yeah.
restaurants here, they don't even talk to each other. They don't look at each other. And here you are with a fire and food, celebration, and, you know, exploration and story, just like our ancestors did in so many ways.
Mhm.
That
Yeah.
that's
The most recent guests that we have, and they're still here actually, they it's a family of 4, but they started as just the 2 of them, and they bought a bus in Belgium from 1937. It was made out of an old Paris trolley, the first one of the first trolleys that had
really
wheels, and they fixed it up into a house, and they drove around Europe for a few years, and then they shipped it from Belgium to Costa Rica, and they were driving through Costa Rica all the way, and they stopped here now, and they have 2 kids. One of them was born in Costa Rica, one of them was born in Portugal, and they're just they're nomads. They're searching for a place to call home, a place to build a vision that is community orientated and something like what we already have here, and that's why they feel, like, very welcome here, is because we've grounded in an energy for, like, that nomadic lifestyle, the ones who want to travel and want to explore and meet new people and connect over music or medicine or around the fire, really, around the sacred fire.
mm. I'm just as you're explaining this, I mean, I'm seeing the visions of it, and yeah, I'm seeing the emotion. I mean, honestly, I'm feeling these emotions, and it's like I'm seeing how people are just, breaking away from the dogmas and the stigmas and the labels, and, you know, outside of all of that, and you're sitting in, I will call that, this is nature's paradise. You're in a paradigm of a paradise. Even though I'm sure there's
Mm,
challenges. I mean, like, I'm sure you've got your days where you're going like, "Uh-oh." Okay? But you're still there, you're still building something. And our peoples, no matter where in the world in the nomadic structure, that's what it was. When you took the minimum, and wherever you went and wherever you landed, that was a port of that was your safe haven. No matter what the challenge of the environment was. You weren't worried about, you know, the tax man, so to speak. You weren't worried about somebody knocking on your door and giving you a parking ticket or anything like this.
yeah,
Okay, that wasn't that for me. That's not what the essence of real life is. This life is like living in that frequent evolution, and you're living that right now. You're
yeah,
truly living in frequent evolution because from one day to another, here comes another person. Here comes another family. Here comes another experience. You're not glued to your television, you're not glued to the news, you're not glued to any of that. You're really integrating with mother.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly how it feels, and, I never really thought that was a thing, or, I never really connected to that in the past when I was in my old life, that one that was told to live. Like, I never thought it was silly to connect with trees and talk to, like, I thought it was silly, but, those are all subtle energies that you can communicate with and ask to work with, and the more you work with them, the stronger it gets, and the more I discovered that, the more I wanted to do it because it's a reciprocity, in reciprocity with the earth. You do something for the earth, and then the earth, you'll be walking along and you'll find a bunch of feathers to make something out of, or you'll find a snake skin or something to make something else out of, or you'll find run into one person who they're looking for exactly what you need. The other day, I was looking for a way to get some posts to do our electrical here, and I was taking my daughter for a walk in the forest, and I stopped and talked to the neighbor, and I was asking him about the electrical posts, if he knows where I can get them, and he's like, "Oh, I'm going there right now. Do you want?" So he was going to like, so just align, just the universe has you back, supports you. You
So,
know?
power of manifestation, in
Uh
other
huh.
words. You're
Yeah.
you're
Power.
manifesting it because you're allowing it to flow.
Yeah, and allowing myself to be in the present moment. That's
Ah.
manifesting from that present moment of presence of not letting the mind start to create chaos and overthinking. That's what neutralizes your power of manifestation. But if you can come to the present and you can think into creation, and it happens very quickly.
So in other words, you broke out of the HIA syndrome,
Yeah.
okay, which we see a lot of, like it's rampant, and you've brought yourself into clarity. You could say in a way that, I'm here in the now. Like you're really living the now moment.
Yeah.
And,
Living in the
you
moment.
know, you've had a child. Like, like, let's go in a little bit of story about this, about, that whole experience. I mean, your partner, she's pregnant with your child. You're in a jungle. You're not in the matrix. You're not worried, like, tell us a little bit about that.
First, I want to just sing a little thing about the now, and then we'll go into that.
Okay.
Here
Yeah.
in the now, here in the now, as I listen. Here in the now, I am here in the now, as I listen, and I listen. Can you hear it now? Can you hear it now? That's just coming through. So, uh, but yeah, so remembering
You're
the
making me,
present.
you're making me very emotional. You know that thing. Like I'm feeling that emotion from you,
Mhm.
and I it's just this overwhelming, like, my eyes are watering. It's like, okay, no, like, where are we gonna go with this? It's like, okay, so I'm gonna let you talk, because if I'll overpower it, and I can do that at times. I don't wanna do that. I want your story to come out.
Okay. Yeah, I do appreciate the questions and like the I mean guides the flow, which is important. Sometimes I can get off topic, so thank you for guiding the
That's okay.
flow.
That's the whole thing. There's no
Yeah.
structure on this. People say, "Gary, what are you talking about?" Whatever.
Well, so we were living here for already about a year, and then we discovered that Kira was pregnant, and we said we're gonna have it here in Guatemala, and so we worked on how we were gonna make that happen. We contacted a midwife, my midwife from here. She was coming out every couple weeks to give special massages where they like position the baby and get it ready to know where it needs to exit, and it's just kind of more of an energetic massage for the baby. And usually after she would get the massage, she would feel how how it shifted, like her energy shifted. She's really in tune with her energy as well. Could tell that it was doing something, and also believing and trusting that it was working. Good, but she does know how to feel how, and it was working. And so it came closer to the birth, and we had a pool in this little casita that we built here on the property, and the midwife came out. we were just like in it together. It was like 7 hours of just it was like a powerful like a medicine ceremony, really. Like I don't know about you, but being in a birth portal, that birth experience, like being in the energy of it is intense. It's super
Oh, yeah.
intense, man. Like being in
My
it,
ex
being
my
there.
experience was my experience was quite uniquely different than yours. Mine was in the matrix of a hospital, okay, my son being
Well,
born, and here you're in the hands of mother. That's the way I'm looking at it. You're really in a cradle of mother.
yeah.
You
Uh-huh.
you sat
And
there for you
so
were in the pool for 7 hours with her?
yeah, I was in it with her, yeah, and I was helping her breathe, and we were oming together, and then at one point, closer to the time of the birth, the midwife, she took off her belt and she put her belt over her forehead like this band,
Okay.
this headband, and hopped in the pool with us, and there was the three of us in there, and it was go time. It was just it was crazy. It's like something you see in a movie, but it was real, and it was just like, wow, am I dreaming? Like this, like we're in the middle of the jungle in the forest. There's no lights here. All you can hear is crickets all night, and then we wake. She was born at 4:11 in the morning, and then we came out of there a little after that, and the birds started coming alive as the sun is rising. The birds are chirping all through the forest. There's like this beautiful orchestrated celebration of my daughter's birth here in the jungle. It was incredible.
4:11 in the morning.
Same time as you,
Uh-huh.
Gary. Uh-huh.
Uh-huh. When you told me that, I bawled. I really did.
Oh,
That that brought me I remember my birthing. A lot of people say, "You can't eat, that's impossible." No, I remember my birthing, okay, because 'cause I've done that work and I've cleared a lot of it, and when you told me that, I was like, "No." Okay, so go on here, because I'm like, my emotion my emotions are just all over the place right now, and, like
okay. Yeah.
okay.
Well, I was super excited to tell Gary, and Gary told me that he was also born at 4:11. I was like, wow, that's so cool. Like, you know, I I've been so interested in Gary's rose oils and like connecting with Gary and Phoenix Apothecary for the roses and I was doing offerings at uh different places here around the lake with the oils and then my daughter was born and there was a single rose, like this big rose like this in bloom here on the property when she was born, and I was, walking through with her, carrying her through the jungle, and I looked over at this rose, and one of the names we were thinking of if it was going to be a girl was Maya, and that was the one that Kira had picked, and then I saw the rose, and I was like Maya Rose, and it's like it's double meaning too because she was born in May with a Mayan midwife and a single rose is in bloom on the property. So I was like, "Oh, okay, Maya Rose." And I told Kira, and she's like, "Oh, we need to sleep on it." And so I slept with her in my arm, and all I could see was rose petals in my third eye, and I could just feel as I was dreaming, like Maya Rose, like that's her name. And yeah, like I just through my discovery and through my journey into getting here to this place that I'm at now, I've learned to listen more to my own intuition. I've learned to listen to my dreams more, pay attention to the significance of some of them. Some of them, they're meaningless, but others, or they might be meaningless now, but you know, go go ahead a couple years, and it all makes. There's many times where that's happened for me. Uh, it's like, oh yeah, I remember that dream I had a long time ago where I was building a trailer in my garage, and I told my ex-wife that I was building a trailer in my garage, and she's like, "You crazy, don't do that." After she left. So,
Brother, when Maya was born and you reached out to me and you let me know that and you saw that first rose, and me, the rose is such a powerful essence of power entity, a living being for me. And I've always been connected to that, as far back as I can remember, wild roses, my grandmother's garden, just the whole essence of rose. And then my whole journey, with aromatology and, working with rose oils and, and then you working with my rose oils and, knowing that you're doing this, you're doing these healing journeys with, with something that's part of me because it was in my hands and now it's in your hands. And then Maya Rose was born. And when you told me about that flower, I was like, there's no coincidences in life. This is a very, very see, I'm going back in
Yeah,
very, very, very special
that
that's
that's
special
okay.
child.
Yeah,
And
yeah. It's been really beautiful. So every morning since she was born, I take her for a walk in the forest. I, most of the time it would help her sleep. So when she was crying, I'd just take her outside, take her for a walk in the peace and the quiet, and she'd come back. She was sleeping. I'd lay her down, and just being here all the time with Kira and helping her in raising this daughter, this child, this beautiful human as a pair that actively works together to nurture a child. I can't even imagine growing up. Your dad has to go to work and your mom's at home with the child, and the dad comes home from work, and then the child doesn't even know him, right?
yeah.
It's like why that's the way of a village, the way of a community is. The masculine uh people in your family, and you're like you live together. The father had to go work, then other fathers would take over to help out. It was like it's like it was in balance.
Always a balance. Okay, what was Lorraine's asking, what was your biggest challenge so far?
Ooh. The biggest challenge so far really is trusting that the money is going to be there to support us for a little bit longer. Uh, because when we came on the journey, we had a bit of a savings, and seeing it slowly dwindle, it really tests your ability to stay calm and unattached to it. So really that's what it's been testing us uh, for most of the journey, because we let go of the whole, like all the jobs that we had, and the job I had a really good job in Canada before leaving, and then so I don't want to be a part of that anymore. I don't want to feed it. I don't want to participate. I just want to take my savings and go. And something will happen. We'll be supported if this is meant to continue, and just trusting that it is meant to continue. And I feel it deep down in my soul that it wants to continue to be grounded, and the support will come, and it has started to come. We've started a GoFundMe to help out in our adventure here, in like supporting the infrastructure here. Like we had to put in a new power line, we had to fix a greenhouse, we had to um, we have to build a roof here to cover, because in the rainy season it gets real wet, and
Yeah, I've seen some of that. It's
I
like, whoa, that talk about a rainfall. Like, and that's not
yeah,
just a day or two. I mean, how long does the rain season last like
yeah,
that?
yeah. Like if you take your shower and you put it on full blast, you get like 4 hours straight of that, like everywhere through the entire forest. Like it's crazy.
So it's just like a
Yeah,
whole shield of just water. Is that like,
yeah.
wow. Wow, 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 wow.
So,
But that
I mean,
you don't
that
have
has
to
been the
worry
most
about actually taking a shower, you just step outside, right?
exactly. You're wet instantly. Like not even you gotta wait out there for like 2 minutes and be really wet. No, it's like you step outside, you're pant instantly. Like that's how much rain it gets in the rainy season. Yeah. So our plan this year is
What's the biggest challenge with that? I mean, like we don't get and I know we get rain up here and things like that, but
yeah,
you're in a different climate of rain, if I could say it that way, because it's really like it's a downpour. So what's
yeah.
the biggest challenge with that?
The biggest
Keeping
challenge
besides
is
keeping dry.
yeah. I mean, sometimes you don't want to keep dry. It's you just put on a raincoat and you go do what you gotta do, and that's it, right?
Do you da
So
do
it's
you
you
do you
adapt. You
dance in the
adapt.
rain?
Uh, You know what? I haven't danced in the rain yet, but I should. Thank you, Gary. Thank you, Gary. I will do that next time. I have ridden my
Well,
motorcycle in rain like that though, and that is super fun because it like I had like the full gear on, like head to toe, rainproof,
yeah, yeah.
the helmet on, and like you're cruising on the motorcycle through the mountains, and it just feels like you're just like you're surrounded by water, but you're on a I mean, kind of dangerous to some, but it depends who you ask. But
Yeah,
super
it
fun.
depends on how much of a renegade you are. It's like, it's like,
Yeah,
just go with it, right? If you're
yeah,
attentive and aware and in the now moment,
yeah,
yeah, it can be kind of challenging. I mean, it
yeah.
definitely, I'm sure it has its challenges, right?
Yeah, and I
And
mean, the more present you become, the more connected you can even become with your own motorcycle that you're driving, so you feel more one with it. You listen to it, you feel it, and it's this yeah, there's a different way of life when you learn to become more present in most things that you do, is that you're more in communication of what you interact with, inanimate or, everything has a spirit, your motorcycle, if you name it, has a spirit. It
oh yeah,
it works with you, it wants to work with you,
let
right?
I want to step back to something. When Maya was born, at that very moment, What 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 was what was for you that feeling? The moment that here comes, here she comes, and you're like, tell me about that.
Ah, that was a that was a really interesting moment. It was funny too, because I remember seeing my rose starting to come out, and I was like, "What am I looking at?" It's just like there's like a hand next to the head, and it was like, like what is? And I was just like,
You're
"What?"
seeing your woman in a whole other different way. It's like,
Yeah,
excuse
I
me,
was like,
like
"Is this
what's
is this real?"
happening here, right?
And I was like, "Is this real? Is this how all life comes to be? What?" Like I've never seen that before. I've never participated or like never been present at a birth before. It was just it's surreal to me. And like, me and Kira both first time ever having a child. So
Yeah, yeah.
uh never didn't do a huge amount of research on watching these babies come out of vaginas, but it's not really something that we
I'm sorry, I'm laughing, but
but it's a
can
trip.
oh my god, oh my god.
It's a it's really like, honestly, it was a trip, and then once that passed, it was like, "Wow," like, "Whoa, I'm a dad." Like, "Whoa, what?" This is crazy.
It's like
Like,
what just happened? It was like, kaboom. It was like, whoa. It was like, here it is. Here we are. I mean, this is really here. It's like, whoa, okay.
uh-huh, yeah,
My
yeah,
God.
and from then, I was so grateful to have support from the local women here that have practiced in the art of, um, uh, slipping my mind here, comadronas. So she was a midwife. She came here and she was so professional, knew exactly what to do, when to do it, what to say. There's a moment within the birth time where, the mother feels like she's not going to make it. She's going to die. And
Mm.
that's, we're
That's the one
told.
thing men don't know. That's the one thing men cannot acknowledge as to what
Yeah.
that moment is for a woman to be going through that. That is like,
Yeah. It's death. And the reason they have to do that and they all go through it is because when they die in that moment, they accept the possibility of their fate or death or potential death or the baby's death, whatever. They're
mhm.
processing this in mind and then they have to release and accept it. And that's the moment when they can reach for that spirit from the other side and bring it in. So it's not until that moment passes that the baby can be birthed. So it's an initiation journey for the mother into like from maiden to mother, right?
But that whole experience, what you have, and then I'm looking in retrospect to my experience. My
Yeah.
experience was a nightmare. I'll be honest with you, it was a real nightmare because the baby turned. We're in the hospital. Epidermal needles. And it's like I'm looking at this thing like that. You're gonna stick this where? Okay, and they
Well,
missed 2 times, and the danger was is that it could have paralyzed her or been lethal, right? Okay, and then the baby couldn't be born naturally, so it was a cesarean. So I'm not seeing what you just say. I'm seeing like I almost passed out because I'm the blood, the cut, the open it, pull it out. It's like, what is this? It's like that. My experience in comparison to what you just experienced. Surrounded by midwives and mothers, and the natural flow of all of that. No, yeah, man, I'm sure there was stress. I mean, I can imagine, yeah, there was stress, but in comparison to what I went through and what you went through, the differences between night and day. And then, the whole rushing and the stress, the nurses and the doctor. It was just like you just wanted to run and hide, but instead of running and hide, I almost passed out. It's like, okay, and here you've had this absolutely magical experience.
Yeah, it was pure joy. Like, it was living fully in joy. It's, there wasn't yeah, there were stresses, but it was like, living through the joy of the present moment and
Yeah.
just trusting, fully trusting.
And you as the man being fully present there, throughout that whole process, being in being in that pool of water, being there with your wife, being, really, really being a sacred man, like, the protector. Here you are. You're really, you're doing everything you can possibly do without losing your marbles, because you know what's a I can imagine it's like, okay, it's like we're good, we got this, we got this. And just the strength that it takes for you as a man to be there with that. Like that alone is a magical essence of, what I'll acknowledge as saying is, that's a sacred masculine. That is a sacred man. That is a man that, is emotionally at all levels engaged with your wife in her emotional state. And so you're not running away. You're like you're in their hand and well, you are in their hand and foot because you're right in the brunt of it, eh? And just in retrospect, if you reflect on that, how did that make you feel as a man?
Made me feel pretty good, but also it made me feel sad. It made me feel sad that so much of our society opts for not that, and it's been pushed on much of the world to go through unnatural methods, almost preferred, and that's really disappointing. It's really disappointing because that's one of the biggest initiations that we go through as humans is coming through the birth portal
Yeah.
as a baby. This is the very first step, and choosing to skip it, isn't always your choice, and that's fine. Uh, but I think it's a beautiful thing to go through that because, as scary as it might seem for both parties, it's still, the body has mechanisms built in that allow it to happen with ease,
Yeah.
right? The stories that we hear are to create fear. They're in order to create fear in the people saying, "Oh, we should go and get cut open, take over take away the first initiation of a child, the very first initiation they'll go through." And there's a massive difference if you compare a baby that's been born through natural birth to a baby that's been born through cesarean in the
Oh,
development.
cesarean, forceps, snipping,
Yeah,
cutting, putting a toque
yeah,
on, wrapping them up like, okay, excuse me,
yeah,
this is a human life,
yeah.
um,
And I mean,
and
there's more struggles that they can go through for sure. Like if they've gone through cesarean because their body was torn out of this comfort state by
yeah.
unnatural methods. Like sometimes there's no way to avoid it, and that's totally fine.
Yeah, I mean, we can understand, but
Yeah,
that fear, the fear, like and I'm not the woman, but I'm seeing this,
yeah,
and seeing her being cut open, and it's like, I mean, it's like
yeah,
you feel so helpless,
yeah,
and to see, okay, reach in and take it out, and all the pain, and and even though there's somewhat no pain, but that emotional experience that the woman is going through, that's still being brought into the child. The child is feeling that stress, feeling that fear. because that umbilical cord is still there. That's still connected. So this whole experience is actually, integrained into the subconsciousness of that child.
Yeah.
And we can't deny that. It's like, excuse me, I remember coming out of my mother's birth canal, but I couldn't imagine like somebody putting forceps around me and trying to yank me out of there. It's like, it's like, no. Um so yeah, what a woman goes through for the birth of a child is
Absolutely.
phenomenal. I mean, like really. I mean, like most men, we think we're strong because we can, go through something. But you know what? That's strength. That 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 is real strength. I
That is
mean,
real.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we can.
Oh yeah.
I just cringe even thinking the possibility. It's like some of the details of this and going like, hey, yeah, no, no. It's like, I don't know if I would, as a man, I know damn well I couldn't, but just thinking about what that sacred woman is going through, the birthing of that child, the pain, the whole contortion of the body and everything like that. It's like, wow, talk about
Yeah.
strength. Okay.
Absolutely.
And
And it's, overcoming it's renewal from a death of sorts, right? It's the
yeah,
death of the maiden to become a mother. And that changes a person. And it
huh.
changes them by they get strength from it. It's like the phoenix rising from the ashes too. It's like,
There's a connection right there. Yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. So when you first held Maya,
yeah.
what was that experience?
It was really beautiful. I had never held a newborn before, and I never even really held a baby that much. This is like just jumping in head first for fatherhood.
It's like how do you feel like okay, like
Yeah,
like you're trying to figure out how do I hold, it's like all I can imagine that
yeah,
going through. I had that experience afterwards. It's like, I've never held, not, I've held children, but not, some, a life so fresh into the world.
yeah,
Okay. And yeah. So
yeah.
at that moment, what would be the one emotion the moment you connected with Maya, what would be the one emotion that came forward?
Love, love,
Okay. Yeah, I
yeah,
can see you glowing. You're just
and
just wow.
one one of the beautiful things that I had the opportunity to work with before my daughter was born was I went to the jungle with the Hunikuin and sat with them for some ayahuasca ceremonies, and the way that they work with ayahuasca is joy. It's Solagria, they say. So don't mind any of the other shit that you need to go this way and that way in the dark. No, it's just joy, and we're gonna dance and we're gonna party like it's just joy, and that'll take everything else away. You'll be able to be aware of everything where it is and accept it.
That's the truth of the medicine.
Yeah,
There's the truth of the mother plant, the
yeah.
grandmother. And that opens up and now I just drifted into something else, and I'm sorry about that. Okay.
Yeah, but
But
that's why I felt so much joy is because I cultivated it and I had the
yeah,
experience
and
of cultivating it from the
exact and
master.
I see that in you versus somebody who's doing this locally, and it's not the grandmother plant.
No,
It's not the grandmother plant. That this is the commodity versus you're there with spirit. You're there with the spirit of the mother, the grandmother, the peoples, the joy of it
yeah.
versus the other alternative routes that, a lot of people are doing. Okay. And I can see it, and how it's helped you versus many people I know that have done it the other way. And I'm more like, excuse me, what happened?
Well, the thing about the grandmother is, so it's it's very chaotic. It's the feminine energy, and it's the grandmother, and she's a teacher, and she'll take you into places and holes that you never even knew existed.
So,
And
so you're acknowledging that the feminine energy can be kind of chaotic with us at once.
yeah,
we're gonna
I mean
get we're gonna get slammed saying this, but you know what?
that's
There is the
I mean that's I'm not saying that like we all have, men and women all have the masculine and feminine aspects of the self. It's
yeah,
just referred to as the feminine aspect. That's the chaotic one. And
yeah,
in the jungle, they work with tobacco, which is the grandfather plant. And when they work together, it gives it this solid container to work and live in. Of they cultivate
yeah.
this container of joy, and they create that container of joy, knowing that joy
So
is a very high
your
frequency. And what's that?
your ceremony with ayahuasca, did it combine both the
Yeah,
tobacco?
yeah,
Okay, so now
absolutely.
you're doing rapé
Yeah,
and you're doing the ayahuasca. That's a big
yeah.
difference. Okay, so the
Huge difference.
grandfather and the grandmother. Wow, wow, wow,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah, so that's how they work in the jungle with the medicine. So if you just take ayahuasca and nothing else, then you're going to experience the limits of the chaos. It's going to take you down holes that you never knew existed that you may not even need to go.
Thank you
And
for saying that. Yeah,
the reason they use the tobacco is because it's that container. So you get a blast of hape as you start to feel the ayahuasca start to take over. And then when the 2 are together, it's like the balancing of the kundalini energies, the masculine and feminine, or Shiva and Shakti, and
yeah,
it
yeah,
balances them so that, they come to their third eye, and then you have that third eye vision for the ceremony. And
yeah.
that's why they use the tobacco, is because it gives them a grounded energy. There's some ceremonies where if you watch, and one of my most recent ones I was watching, and I saw that some of the people who were leading the songs, they had the hape pretty shortly after the first cup, and I was like, "I'm gonna have some hape now too," and I didn't feel the ayahuasca in the same way again. I had control over it, and sometimes I'll go through waves of it, and where I would, like, reach a peak and then have to puke, um, well, by doing the rapé a little bit earlier, I could still feel the force of the medicine, but now I could channel it into a instrument. I could channel it into my voice. I could channel it into something creative. You could channel it into art. Anything, like, it could be anything. But if you start to get in your mind, then she'll help you find things that you might be getting rid of somebody else's stuff through you, right?
Would
Because we're
would
all
you s-
interconnected.
would you say that the vomiting is actually letting go or removing shadows or removing blockages?
I
So
think
to
so.
allow
Yeah.
that experience?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this was how it was explained to me in peyote with an
Yeah.
elder was is that the sickening was to get rid of that block, that darkness, and so
Mhm.
it's like it uncaps it, so you can really go deep within. Okay, and that was kind of a violent vomiting experience I had with that one. But okay,
Yeah.
it was like, whoa, where's this stuff coming from? It's like
Yeah.
okay, but the after was magical. Was very, very, very magical for me, and we were surrounded with elders. This wasn't, a drug fest, so to speak. And I think
Yeah.
this is where a lot of the sacred medicines that are used outside of the origin, because I was there with an origin plant, with a group of elders that looked after it and everything like that, versus taking this and put it into a plane and ship it to somebody, and then okay, call yourself a whatever, okay, and then just using it in a way that your verbos is there. This is where spiritual narcissism comes in, okay, and this seems to be a big topic coming up, a lot more and more. Is in the Here I am, the so-called spiritual representation, but it's more spiritual narcissism because what is up at the forefront is not what the truth is. It is really the commodity of it, and this type of an essence of it. And this is starting to break free in a lot of the spiritual communities where we're starting to recognize that this isn't the person that is there, the one that's up in the forefront, the monetization and everything else in it, because it's more about the monetization versus the experience. You were in the birthing of grandmother, is the way I look at it. You're in the birthing of grandmother. So grandmother's brought to you and it's taking you through that birthing or rebirthing experience in order for you to really connect into the Celeste on one. and also connecting to the mother, Mother Earth, that you're in between the two of them.
Yeah. Well, I also had to experience a death in one of the ceremonies that I was in, and I I felt like, I experienced the so there's a place nearby here that I participate in the ceremonies quite often, and I enjoy going because it's like me, it's a prayer. It's also exploring the depth of my own psyche because I use it as a tool. And in the quite a few times ago now, I actually died and I passed over to the other side, and I processed the feeling of like, oh, you went to this place for Saturday and now you're not coming back, and you have a daughter and you have a wife who is not, she's left behind, and how the parents feel and how all this stuff. And it was like all things needing to process. And then the message was just let go, just let go. And then
Okay. I
realizing
want
that,
to
okay,
I want to elaborate on that one if we could.
okay,
So you went through a death, a near death. We can say a near death experience, if we want to say. So, an NDE.
yeah,
So you went through that. You crossed over. Now you're in another space, and the reflection is, your wife, the child. Go more into that. I want to know more about this experience, if you
mm,
could, please. If you feel to,
yeah,
of course.
yeah. So I mean, really, it was just the experience of what other people would think, of like, oh, the sadness behind, like, he wanted to go to the ceremony this weekend and now he's not coming back, and he's leaving his or his daughter behind, his wife behind, and parents behind, and just the sadness involved with that, and processing the emotions that they would feel, to
Hmm.
just see how intertwined we all are, and like how these people care about me, and just like to help me see that too. Maybe just aspects of myself didn't really like believe it, and but getting to feel that for myself. And then, the message was that, oh, if you just let go, then you can come back with the light from the other side. It's like, so I connected beyond the shadows. It was like thick, shadowy sludge all over. And then I could connect to this light on the other side that was so powerful and so bright. And when I was able to bring it back, uh, I felt it in my heart center, and it just exploded into this light of like a sun, and it melted all the stuff around me off me.
Whoa.
Is like a phoenix. It's just like,
Oh, that's okay.
yeah,
That's I'll call that in brief. That's the shamanic experience. You cross between the two realms. Okay, we can say the dark and the light.
yeah,
And this rising of the phoenix, the rising from that darkness, the melting away, bringing you into that. Here's the light of it. Here's really my light of it, and seeing it from a broader perspective, and opening more your vision, and opening more like, okay, you're maybe the key is at the appreciation of life in the moment. Now you're here, and this I can see more, I can experience more, and I can value more of my life, and value more of my interaction. Okay, I mean,
yeah,
this is the way I'm understanding this. Okay, I mean,
mhm,
I'm also basing these on my own experiences and some of the things that I've gone through. Okay, but hearing you explain this is like, yeah, it's a reflection, and and I see it in something that I've seen shift in you, like when you come up and visited me and you brought Maya. Oh my god. I yeah, that was a beautiful moment, I'll tell you. But I saw it, what I saw in you, what I saw in Kira, and holding Maya Rose, like her eyes, the way that she was looking at me, like she was awake. Like
she's intense. Yeah,
she felt like this is intense. She's awake because her eyes were like, this is not typical. Like, I've had experience with children in many, many, many ways, right? But what I felt with Maya in that moment, there's no words to explain it. It was just like a
she'll st she'll
a
stare you down.
divine. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. That's exactly what she was. You when you put it down, she was like this little bundle of joy. is looking at me in a way that a majority, like 99% of any other human out there, wouldn't be able to do so.
Yeah.
'Cause she's looking directly into me. She's looking directly into my, and I felt that. And I felt that there was no no blockages. It was just like, "Oh my god."
Yeah.
And, and just thinking back to it, I still remember, I still, and that feeling's coming back. The same feelings coming back. This connection with your daughter, and
Mhm.
just that moment of blissful joy of that now moment, okay? And then the way your wife was with me at the side and the way you were, and just the glowing, like the glowing of the three of you was like, wow, like that was a gift that you brought me, in every way. Your presence, Kira, and then holding on to Maya Rose, and then thinking about the story of the rose, the bird, the rose oil, and everything else intertwined, and it was like sort of like coming full circle.
Yeah.
Sort of this journey that was led, the experience with the rose, what you've done, the birthing of your child, and now coming back. And this was the receiving, and I don't know if this sounds right or wrong. I'm just gonna say it for what it is that it was like I gifted something to you in a way that you experienced, and I saw how you honored it. I saw how you honored the mother plant, and that to me was very, very magical, very special, because I knew you weren't just looking at this as an essential oil. No, you were really honoring that plant. You were honoring that mother plant and the whole cycle. The birth, the rose, your experience, the child, and then coming back full circle to return to my hands once again. So this it was like the seed planted, and here's the flower, and your
Yeah.
child was that flower. And that was like, that's the only way I can explain it, is like just pure magic, just magical.
It's like, look, Gary, this is how much I love the rose. My daughter's a rose.
Yeah, 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 absolutely. It's like, and I have a very beautiful connection with a divine woman by the name of April, and her connection with the rose. Is there a meaning behind your daughter's name?
There is,
Okay.
yes. I could say it again.
Yeah, yeah, go
So
for it, go for it. That Mary's one of the ESP. Well, you met her. She's one of the ESP, founders, eh? So you go ahead. I'll let you speak.
okay, so Maya Rose, she was born here with the Mayans in the month of May. So Maya, and then when she was born, there was a single rose in bloom here at the garden where we live, and it was this really big red one. It smelled just like Gary's oils, and so that's where she got her name, Maya Rose. Yeah,
That's so now you're taking me right back to that moment again when you told me that. My ears are warming and my eyes are watering, and I'm
yeah,
going, okay, here we go again. And I'll be honest with you. I mean, I'll say it. Jonathan, thank you for sharing that
yeah,
experience with me. The moment you
yeah,
shared that with me, I mean, I'll be honest with you. I was in a moment where there was something very stressful going on, and it just took that all away. It took that all away. It melted all of the stress, all of the mind fuckery that was going on. That moment you told me about the birth, the rose, the oils, I was like, oh my god, oh my god. Okay, so
uh,
she said she didn't hear the first time around, so it's
no worries.
um like that'll be that for me. That's a memory that I'll end up as I'm writing things. I mean, there's something coming forward, but as I'm writing, that's a memoir that you brought me a gift. You really did. Okay, and I'll be grateful and ever so grateful for that until whenever that last breath is. And then, like, who knows when that's going to happen, but I don't think about that. Okay. Hey, how about some music?
Sure.
You
I
you
just
you
wanted
up to
to,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. I got
Or
something here.
or whatever. I mean, I'm just, like, throwing this out there. It's like,
Got a little guitar here. That
"Oh,
could be fun.
okay."
Uh, but yeah. So just to touch on the eye stare that my rose has. Um, Today we were walking through the forest, and there were some locals that were just they're collecting wood in the forest, and we were walking by them. We said hi to them, and Maya Rose, whenever she sees new people, she just looks at them and stares at them the whole way. And
Really?
it catches people off guard because like she's looking at you. Like
Oh,
she's like,
yeah.
"Who are you
She
and what are you doing?"
that you can say that. That is the one thing. She sees more than just I mean, that's my
She sees
feeling with
spirits.
her. She
Yeah.
sees not just the vessel. She sees all of you inside and out. Like, it's a stare down. It's like, "Okay,
Yeah.
what"
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
and I'm sure she's seen the whole energy field. She's seen everything because the way she was looking at me, she looked right through me. She saw everything. Okay,
Yeah.
so I can imagine like somebody who's never had a child look at them like that was like, okay, wow, that's a stare
Yeah.
down. We can call that the stare down.
That's a
She's
stare
going to
down.
be she'll be very powerful. And, whoever she greets throughout her life is like, okay, you know what?
You're intense.
I'm, oh, yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, off to
Uh,
you.
well, so I'm gonna shower San Pedro. It's the San Pedro. Um, and I like to name my instruments because you know, even if it's not a very
Spirit.
expensive guitar, the more energy I put into it, the more valuable it becomes energetically, and the better it plays. That's just how it works.
Yeah.
And so I have a couple things. I have a little rose here on my guitar, a little rose from my rose, and then I got a wolf. Anyway, some hummingbirds. I like to decorate things. Makes it fun.
Hummingbirds,
Yeah,
wolf,
cacao,
rose.
rose, got it all. So I'm gonna sing you a song, Gary. It's called "I Love You So Much." This is a song that I wrote.
Okay.
How's the sound? Does it sound okay?
Sounds perfect. For me, it sounds perfect.
Okay. Oh my God, oh my God, you sing my heart song. You hear me singing my heart song. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, I love you so much. Can you hear me singing my heart song? Can you hear me singing my heart song? Ay Dios mío, ay Dios mío, ay Dios mío, te amo tanto. Ay Dios mío, ay Dios mío, te amo tanto. Puedes escuchar la canción de mi corazón. Puedes escuchar la canción de mi corazón. Ah, eh, 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 ah, eh. Adilan, Adilan, te amo tanto. Adilan, Adilan. I think my screen just froze for a second. Sorry.
You know, I can, see that, first off, I mean, you are in a jungle. Okay. You're not sitting in a complex. And I see beyond that because I feel the energy. So I'm feeling, through the whole entirety of this song and the music that's coming forward and where you are with your heart and the way you're singing it. And to me, that's all that counts. So you know what?
Mm,
Keep going. Keep going.
okay. Where was I? Atilan. 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 Okay. Just not wanting to play right now. That's better. Adilan, 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 te amo tanto. Adilan, 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 te amo tanto. Puedes escuchar la canción de mi corazón. Puedes escuchar la canción de mi corazón. Puedes escuchar la canción de mi corazón. Ah, eh, 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 ah, ah, eh, ah, eh, ah, eh, ah, eh. Oh my God, oh my God. Oh my God, I love you so. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, I love you so much. Can you hear me singing my heart song? You hear me singing my heart song.
That's beautiful.
I,
That's beautiful.
I wrote that song. I wrote that song because I was like, I love God, and I want to sing a song that says I love God so much. And so I did. And it's a little bit inspired by Hausch. So the Hausch is what they say in the jungle to everything. It's like, oh, you did this, Hausch. So it's kind of like, so it's a Hausch song, and that is where the A's come from, and they're just different frequencies using just vowel sounds. So A, and so that's why I wrote it in there song.
What have you learned from the Mayans? Like you're with ancestral culture in many ways. What is the one thing that you've learned from this culture that you can say is whatever, whatever you want to say about it. What's the one thing that you say you can learn from this culture?
One thing that I can learn from this culture is patience and presence. And we live in a village close to a village called Santiago Atitlán, and it's one of the most populated indigenous villages on the lake. And you go to the market, and there's literally thousands of women, mostly, that go shopping for their groceries. They're all a foot shorter than me, and they're all wearing cultural patterned clothing. So I'm like walking through a sea of these people, and some places you go where you go to a busy market, it's, like, hard to get through. This is really easy because everyone's tuned in, everyone's connected to the flow. You can push your way in, and you don't even have to push hard, you just kinda gently weave your way through this little sea of people, and that's how that's how they live. They live in that
So
harmony with each
zero, you
other.
you 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 could say, okay, comparison, you step into a shopping center here and you get bumped by carts and pushed and shoved and, people not acknowledging anything. And you're trying to navigate through this. Oh, okay, here's somebody not being in awareness and that shopping cart's coming at you. And here you're in a place where everything's flowing. Nobody's they're not in a
Yeah,
rush to get
yeah,
there. They're not,
yeah,
they're not like, I got to get that before somebody else gets that. They're just flowing and that's beautiful, man. That's really beautiful. That's the way it I think that's the way it should be. It's
yeah,
like and you're experiencing that.
yeah,
That's like, wow. Like, so they're in the ebb and flow of the now is the way I would describe that.
yeah.
That's beautiful.
And one of the biggest contributors to allow that is if somebody buds in front of you when you're in a line. I mean, there's no point in getting mad about it. Just let it go. And then, because it happens over and over and over and over when you're in a market that's super
Mhm,
busy.
mhm.
Somebody just like cuts you off. You're trying to go somewhere. You're like, okay, well, I mean, they fit in before me, and it just teaches you that you got to kind of like push your way in this kind of way, not forcefully, but just
Yeah,
gently.
yeah.
That's where you're using your intention to go somewhere, and taking action to make it happen. And the universe, it just the flow of people, the energies just kind of weave together. It's this beautiful weaving of energy of humans, because they're all tapped into the present now, right? And I think Westerners come to this like and try to implement their own belief systems, thinking that they need to change
Mm.
their ways. But truthfully, I think the Mayans are just entertaining us all just to see how truly aware we
Wo
are, because they're fully aware of everything that we're doing,
would would you go
and
as
they're just
would you go
holding
as
us.
far to say that they're not living in an ego world?
You
In
know what?
living in ego?
Yeah, for the most part.
I'm sure where you're
Yeah,
gonna get the
there's I
odd
mean,
one
there's
that's,
yeah, yeah. They just live in joy, they live in peace, they live in happiness with what they have, with what God gives them, what they've been given. And there's belief systems that have come into their world and said, "Oh, you're sleeping on a dirt floor. Like you should have shoes. You should have this and this in your house and this and this in your house." But like, why? I mean, it's plus 15 every night. You get a blanket, you sleep on the dirt, you're connected to Mother Earth. Like,
yeah,
who
you're
cares?
grounded. You're connected. That opens up
Yeah, but instead,
another question, okay?
yeah, oh sure.
What's one of the most shamanic elders you've met? And then what was that what has that experience? What does it turn what has it led for you? What has it opened up for you in that experience?
Uh, so one of the most shamanic elders that I encountered was with the medicine of Wachuma, and that was me and a friend, we led a hike out here with Wachuma, and an elder from the Dakota Nation in the U.S. came with us, and he'd been working with peyote for over 25 years, and he came with us on this hike. And Kira brought Maya Rose with us, and it was like a 3-hour hike, and Kira carried Maya Rose with her, and I had a water drum with me, and we got down to this waterfall, and we were fully in the medicine, and we were singing these peyote songs with this guy Ishtakaba, who's our friend Ishtakaba from the U.S. And we got down there, and he bent down in the water, and he picked up some water, and he blessed Maya Rose, and then he took a little dab of powder of medicine and gave her a little dab just to like initiate her into the path of the warrior, the medicine warrior.
Whoa.
That's what we are. We're warriors, earth
Yeah.
warriors.
Now, you mentioned water drum. So is that the one like with is
Yeah.
that like what I have? Have you seen my water drum?
I don't know. So this water drum is a steel pot. No, no, that's not our water drum. That's not. Uh, so this one is literally with water in it. It's got
Oh, so
it was a steel pot with a hide over top, but they put water inside of it, and then they stretch the hide and they tie it after they put the water in,
okay,
and
so this is
there's
not a water drum. This is like it gives that water sound, but you're talking about a water drum that they put water into it? Yeah.
yeah, like an indigenous water drum uh, that they use in like the local peyote ceremonies, and they literally take it down to body water and they fill it with water, and then they tie the skin, and then there's certain stones that need to be put in a certain place, and it has to be tied a certain way. And so he tied it for us down there, and then I carried it all the way back. And when I normally connect with Wachuma medicine, it like gives me a lot of superhuman strength, and I can lift things with ease. It's like I don't find things don't make me
Yeah.
tired easily, and the water I carried it like 3 hours hiking, and I could feel the weight of water because of the emotions that, you know, water is constantly flowing. How many of those droplets of water were part of humans in the past, and the emotions that they would carry, and like, so it was like the emotions of the world coming through this drum, and it was like singing to me, it was teaching me songs, just carrying it, holding it, and then yeah, so we got back to Firefly Gardens where we are here, and we sung some songs with it all night, and then at the end when you untie it, you can drink some, and then you get to pour it onto the land here to like help it, like all the prayers that went into the water, you can pour it onto the land and water your garden with it, and it just helps. It carries all those prayers that we sung all day.
So
So that's what it's
this
used
this
being
water
used
drum,
for.
is it something that you actually use in movement, or is it just because it's carrying the essence of the water? Like, does it generate, is it a sound generator of any type, or is it just, the aspect.
It's kind of yeah. It kind of has a wet drum sound. It's hard to describe, but it's like a thumping, like and it like echo like we had there's when we were down by the waterfall was hitting the water, the pool of water at the bottom, and we were playing a song on the water drum, and you could hear the echoing of the water drum reverberating and meeting the exact same frequency that the waterfall was hitting the water, and it was creating this like echo void of energy, like it was so cool.
I'm just getting my whole spine just went just,
Yeah,
unbelievable. Okay.
yeah.
What is, from everything that you've gone through from the Matrix to where you are now, that you could say to the listeners out there that was the most important discovery, or one of them, or
There are
just.
no bars. There's no bars. There's no what's that? I think you cut out for a split second there, Gary. Could you
Yeah.
just
So what I was asking was, what is out of your experience from the Matrix to where you are now, in like right now, what is one thing you could say to the audience that was your greatest discovery?
uh, I'm gonna sing it, okay?
Okay, that works for me. There, do it.
You don't have to know the way knows the way. You don't have to feel the way, trust the way knows, the way knows, the way knows the way. That's it.
That's powerful.
Yeah, yeah.
Simple but powerful, and I
It takes
think.
practice. It takes practice too.
Yeah. Well, definitely, because you're breaking away from the complexity of what we've been programmed in. So, when we look at our schooling, our programs, everything out there, we've been programmed in such a complex way of thought that we've forgotten about the simplicity, being in that simplicity of the flow. Okay. It's like, you know what? Yeah, we have our challenges, but because we overcomplicate things, and I think this is a great deal, of the problem with humanity in today's world, is we overcomplicate things. We want to unravel something that doesn't need to be unraveled. We want to justify it. We want to validate and seek validation and saying, this is the way it is, rather than, hold on a second. You know what? Let it flow. And
Yeah.
then that stress level that kind of just goes, "Boop," because you're not stressing over trying to make it complicated. You're in that simplicity of it. And I think that goes right back to the very roots of our ancestors, is that the way that they survived in the elements and survived in the challenges was that they weren't overcomplicating things. They were in the moment, the simplicities, to see it clearly for what it was rather than the hoopla. Okay, and I think that's phenomenal. Okay, tell me more about the Firefly Gardens. What is the vision of the Firefly Gardens?
Well, so Firefly Gardens is the place that we landed when we got here, and it had a vision started of being a off-grid eco garden, and just through us showing up and just kind of getting a feel for the land and connecting to the land, it sort of evolved into more of a uh, an overlanding haven, sort of. If people come, they want to stay at the lake for an affordable price, and they have a camper. You know, they don't have a lot of cash, or they just want something simple and super quiet on the lake. A really busy, popular lake that a lot of people flock to in hordes year round. So it's a nice getaway for a lot of people. And so we have a casita. It's a queen bed that we built a little casita that people come and stay frequently. And we have tenting space. People come with their tents, or we have a couple tents that we rent out. And then we live with a local family who was born and lived his whole life here. And his first language is Mayan Sutuhil, and his second language is Spanish, and we're kind of interchanging English and Spanish. So he's learning some English as I learn Spanish. And they just had a son, like 5 months after Maya rose, and so we're growing in community with the locals, our family here, which is super beautiful. That they're willing to hold us here and partner in growing a vision together. And so the vision unfolding is uh, more or less a mystical village in that we're one piece of the bigger cog. There's all these pieces that exist around us, and the key is extending relationship between those pieces to knit it together like a web of a community. There's a place across the lake that we've connected with called the Mystical Yoga Farm that Kira bakes cookies and brings them over there, and I go participate and help space hold a little bit in the ceremonies, and we go to the fire circles all the time, and just learn from them how to really anchor in the type of community that we want. What we want from that vision to trickle into this vision, and songs sitting around the fire, having stories around the fire in community, working together, planting stuff together, living off the land essentially, and in ways that we can sustain ourselves without having to have the use of money to exchange. Just trading, trade this much
Barter,
for this
like
other
like a
food. Yeah,
bartering
barter.
system in
Yeah,
exchange, right?
exactly. Like we
So
have avocados that drop on us daily. So we can collect avocados. We give them as gifts to people, and it's like just how the land helps us to continue to give thanks to others through the land.
so how does that avocado taste in comparison to one that you get from the supermarket?
Oh man, those ones that you guys have aren't avocados. They pretend.
Okay, okay. Okay, yeah, that I can I remember a trip that I took to Ukraine and getting fresh figs from the tree. What that
Yeah,
was, getting that moment, that readiness of that there's nothing like that. Okay, um, the lake. This lake? What is so special about this lake?
this lake is hidden between three volcanoes. Before we change, this is our tree, Peter, the avocado tree.
Oh, he's got a name,
Yeah,
Peter the
he's got a big
avocado
face.
tree. Oh
Yeah,
wow.
yeah. So he drops avocados all the time on us, and it's kind of like a bomb going off. It's like boom. And
Yeah,
this
you
is
gotta
one of
walk
his.
out and say, okay, instead of watching out for pigeons, look at the size of that thing.
Yeah, it's like a baseball.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Like
And
the
they're real.
whole yeah. Yeah. That's
Yeah.
that's phenomenal.
Uh-huh.
What other before we go more into the lake, so you got the avocado. What
Yeah.
other natural fruits or vegetables that you are finding that are there that you weren't accustomed to having it here? Is there anything that you've experienced that, is uniquely different?
I mean, there's bananas here, that grow right here. Bananas are local. They taste really good. Like all the
I bet
fruits
they
here
do.
is really, yeah. Like all the fruits
Okay.
taste really good here because they're all fresh. They're all from really close by. Either
Yeah.
they grow up here at the higher altitude, or they bring them the uh, from the seaside where the warmer climate is. Because we're about 1,600 meters in elevation, so we're like in the mountains in Guatemala. So it gets chillier in the nighttime. We get to like 12 degrees some nights, and then it tops out about 25 degrees in the daytime. So it's really like the land of eternal spring because it's like that year round, with the exception of rainy season, which it's just really wet but still the same temperature.
That's phenomenal.
Yeah.
And like we went from 1 week here to -30 to +1 and then it's just up and down like a yo-yo around here right now. Okay.
Uh-huh.
So more about this lake, the uniqueness and if any of the history you'd like to share about it.
So the lake is said to be a ancient super volcano that is the deepest lake in Central America. It's 340 meters deep, over a
Whoa.
thousand feet at its deepest, and they have no idea what's down there. But people that have gone diving there, I've gone diving in this lake many times, over 100 times, and it's kind of like murky water because of the sediment that gets tossed around with the waves and stuff.
Yeah.
But it's relatively clear for a lake, and there's people find relics like pottery from who knows when, and they find there's actually an underwater city here in the lake. It's called Samabach, and it's an underwater Mayan temple that it's about 20 meters deep, and it's
Whoa.
yeah, yeah. I haven't
Have
seen it,
you
unfortunately. I
you
haven't.
haven't ventured into that yet? No?
No, no, no.
Okay.
There's I guess limited or restricted access to getting there. So,
Phenomenal. Like
but
like
it is here, yeah.
that's
Um,
unbelievable.
yeah. And so this lake is also a very very powerful energy center. It's like the belly button of Mother Earth.
That's a cute way of saying it. Belly button of
Yeah,
Mother Earth.
yeah.
Wow.
It's like a powerhouse energy center. Uh, it's surrounded by where we are specifically on the lake. We're on the inlet of the lake, which is like kind of like a little leg that comes off the main body of the lake that is only about 40 meters deep, and that's where a lot of the life breeds before going out into the main waters of the lake. Uh, but this area is surrounded by three volcanoes that form a triangle around it. So it's like the sacred geometry of these like giants that form this energy vortex.
Mm.
And
The
I know that,
trifecta.
yeah. And so I know the intensity of an ayahuasca ceremony here on the lake was the same, if not more intense than when I was in the Amazon in the jungle. So it's like a gateway to the stars in many ways, especially working with different medicines.
Okay. What's some of the most celestial moments that you've had?
Celestial moments that I've had.
Celestial, divine, like a moment of divination.
The first time I ever tried Wachuma, which is the San Pedro cactus. It's known as the keeper of the golden gates to heaven on earth. And there was a moment during the ceremony where I felt like I was making everything around me happen. And I could look at a cloud off in the distance and just like move it it was it's like, "Oh," and it was the moment when I realized how powerful my thoughts were. It was helping me to see,
Yeah.
it might have been just in that moment that I was feeling that way, whether I was doing it or not. Um, but it just helped me to reflect more on, oh, what I think about has the potential to happen. And so
Yeah.
just being cautious with,
Manifestate the power of that thought of manifestation, the weaving of
yeah,
that energy.
yeah. And I mean,
Some
it's very difficult to reach levels of that high degree of energy control in this reality to be able to alter realities with just your mind
Mhm.
because it is so dangerous, right? Many of
Yeah.
us, if our minds were to access that energy possibility, then it would destroy the planet.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely, because of that ego corruption to want to own and manipulate and
Yeah,
be that sensation of that endorphin rush of power. It's like here I am, I'm powerful. It's like
yeah,
yeah, that's dangerous in the hands of humans right now. I mean, that's maybe not so much as our ancestors, but in the way in today's world is like, no, no, there's a little too much self-essentialism out there, and then they think the world owes them something and get that kind of power in their hands. Holy fuck.
mm,
That would
yeah,
be like, run for the hills if there's anything left after it. It's like,
uh-huh,
yeah, that's a scary thought to get that kind of power, and because humans as they are in the status, and it's not a judgmental statement. It's more in the reality of it is that that's too much power. That's too much power for our way we are right now. Like, you're in an environment where you're integrating with it. You take
mm,
something like that and that kind of power and put that in the center of New York or Washington or other places like that. Oh my God. It's like,
yeah.
nope.
Well,
I
this,
mean,
the elder friend that we went on the hike with, Ishtakuba, said, "What I discovered about this lake and living here, being here, is that be careful what you think or what you wish for, because you'll say something or you'll be like, oh, where, I wonder where so and so is,' and then 2 hours later you'll see them walk by and you're just like, what the heck? It's that kind of rapid manifestation. Uh, so being very careful with what we're putting
do,
out into the
do you
universe.
do you f- do you feel anything with okay, we're going through like right now, between now and the 25th, there's a planetary alignment. The planets are coming into a very, very unique alignment that hasn't happened in over 13 trillion years. 13, I think is what, something like 13.4 trillion years at this alignment of these planets. Are you feeling anything that's uniquely, in difference or in alignment or something in the essence of, something's coming forward? Okay, without going into speculation, but something in the moment of the energetic fields.
I think now is the time for the old to burn away and the phoenix to rise out of the ashes. That's the parts of the U.S. are burning, millionaires are losing their houses, and whether it's staged or not, I mean, something's got to burn. Something's
Yeah,
burning, and it's burning
it's
for a
time
reason.
time to
Whether
time to take down the walls. In other
yeah,
words, yeah,
yeah,
break the barriers, break the walls, break the dogmas, the stigmas,
yeah,
the ideologies of, this one's going to save the world and that's going to save the world. No, my principal focus and always has been is to unite people. Okay, not your politics, your religions, and your people up on pedestals and the bullying and all of the threats and the fear mongering and things like that. I believe, for me, that's my perspective. Of course, that 2025 is a very unique year. It's a unique power sequence that's going to come forward. There's going to be a great breaking of the veils, and a lot of the truths are going to be coming forward.
yeah,
And some of these truths, a lot of people may not be ready for them, but you cannot be, the ostrich with your head in the sand and saying, if I don't know about it, or I'm not aware about it, or don't tell me about it, that it's not going to hurt me, because we have to open our eyes. We have to
yeah,
open our eyes to see beyond the curtains of, the darkness, or the curtains of the control and the manipulations and the dogmas. Yeah. And
Yeah.
what's a few last words you wanna say? Because, it's late for you, okay?
Oh,
And,
yeah.
you got your beautiful wife and child, and I'm sure there's,
Uh,
things for you to take care of, but what would you like to say in the last closing? And then we'll open it up to any comments, any questions that anybody has. And what would you like to
how
say
about
to the world right now?
how about I just share a note from Phoenix, my flute player?
Oh, yes, I was gonna ask, but I didn't want to impulse. I would look, you'll bring it out.
Okay. Yeah. This will be a closing for I feel complete after that, and then we can, yeah, answer any questions.
Okay. Whoa. I just went, thank you for that, my brother. And thank you. That's and gratefully, thanks for you being present here tonight and reaching out a little bit and sharing some of your story and just being you. I'm grateful to know you. I'm proud to know you. Um, I could say lots of things, but you know what? You're a beautiful human being. You're a beautiful man, and I got to get myself down there. I mean, I definitely know I got to get myself down there.
Please do share.
So I think,
Could use another Phoenix down here.
oh, the two. You know what? The two of us together, I think we could do some beautiful, beautiful. Yeah, I will say it. Beautiful magic. That's injected into the collective, and I believe it will happen. I can't say when. I'm just with the flow of it right now, and but there is a time coming. There's a time coming that you and I will sit in a circle, and we're gonna just bring something forward that there's no words to explain. Okay, and I think keeping this connection between us, and that we always do connect in one way or another. I think that's beautiful. Especially when I look at my place in life, what I'm doing in my life, and to have these connections. I'm just grateful for you, brother. I really am. I'm grateful for Kira and and Maya Rose, of course. I mean, I can't wait. She's gonna grow up. Oh my God, brother. Oof.
Living on a school bus in the jungle of Guatemala. That's a pretty cool story.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. So let's open this up to the audience if there's any questions. If not, we'll, thank you everybody for being here tonight and, just sharing, with us and listening to an old wizard and a young wizard just say, you know what, here we are. It's like, hey, everybody.
Yeah,
So
man.
questions open to the audience if there's any. If
Yeah,
not, we will definitely say have a good evening or a good morning or wherever you are in the world.
I'd like to also extend a gratitude to you, Gary, for reaching out to me in a time when I've kind of been like, searching a little bit for what to do, ways to, put myself out there, and it just so happened that you reached out to me to help out with that, and I really deeply appreciate that for the assistance and just helping me to, I don't really like to spend a lot of time on my phone
Well, yeah, I wouldn't either.
or
If I was where you
on the
were, I
internet.
wouldn't wanna
It
do
doesn't
that.
make any sense.
Okay. Do you have a
Yeah.
website? Do you have anything in promotional wise that, is about the Firefly Gardens?
I have an I have an Instagram, Mobile Mystic
Okay.
with a K, um, and I have a GoFundMe link on there if you're interested in checking out the Firefly page. We have a GoFundMe to help raise money for some
Yeah.
builds that we have around here. I also do some personal one-on-one stuff um, with the Oracle as well as different energy healing, energy work, essentially. Um, and that just through personal message, just more working on one-on-one through having a conversation like this, just exploring the depths of the psyche and what's moving, what's alive, and what wants to move, what doesn't, and where the resistance is. So it's about really coming and releasing the resistance to remember who you are. And,
I think we're gonna have a little bit more in-depth talk about something. I have some ideas for you. Okay, if you're open to that for as well.
okay,
And so it's
well,
like again, once again, thank you for being here. Thank you everybody out there, wherever you are around the world. Uh, Keep smiling. Believe to see, don't see to believe. Stop chasing after love. Be love. Receive it. Understand that, the greatest love of all is loving yourself because that's where your power is. And it's not with ego, it's with your heart. You just stand strong, be who you are, be raw, be real, be authentic. And we'll see you next time.
and
In the
also
heart of the
Solegria, which means
mountains,
just
the
joy.
flying shadows play. Legends whisper softly in the light of day. Scales shine like diamonds, wings that touch the sky. Guardians of the planet Earth, protecting all that cry. When the storms rage above and the darkened shadows creep, they shield the outer danger from attacking when we sleep. Through their breath of fire, we will find our way back home. They are always there to call on, no matter where we roam. Hear the thunder of dragons, flying high above the earth, protectors of the ancient realms, hidden since our birth. Feel energy that rises, feel the fire in your heart, creeping up your body, awakening the start. In the depths of the forests, where spirits dance and sing, dragons listen carefully for souls that are calling. Then breathing life of fire, a flicker of the tail. Their hearts all beat in unison, that is timeless in this veil. When the storms rage above and the darkened shadows creep, they shield the outer danger from attacking when we sleep. Through their breath hear the thunder of dragons